Welcome to the Lifelinks podcast, all you sassy Latinas. This is where you come to hear stories that resonate with you, help you discover your true cultural identity, tossing off the need to fit in, and standing out with your authenticity, because that is your superpower. I'm your host, Consuelo Crosby, and also the creator of this content. If there's anything you'd like to share, please reach out to us on our Instagram social media at Lifelinks, that's LNXX, or through our website at thelinks.com. Of course, come here for some love and chat sessions with our fab guests from the comunidad. Sit back, have your cafecito, maybe some vino, whatever you like. We are bringing the sisterhood to you. Hola, chicas. Gratitude for joining the Lifelinks podcast with me, Consuelo Crosby, your host and creator of this show, where we expand the Latina narrative by handing the mic to amazing amigas, sharing their journeys, discovering their cultural identity, and with it, immense success on their terms. Today, we have a vibrant mujer who I met through Instagram because its algorithm finally got it right and knew that I would love to connect with a soul sister, a Latina in STEM, to hear her story and bring it to you here today, in her own words, in her own time. Amayrani MaryLeen Villegas Parra is a Bay Area native of Mexican immigrant parents. She is a scientist and leader who researches cell signaling in cancer. I tell you, isn't that crazy? This amazing amiga is a certified data scientist and holds a bachelor degree in cell and molecular biology, and is on the verge of graduating next month with her master's in this at San Francisco State University. So, we have to give up the applauso and celebration for everything she's been through, and you're going to hear more about that in our episode today. And as though that wasn't just amazing all in of itself, all the time that she was going through this experience of reaching this high academic degree, even so, she was thinking of others. And with that, she saw a way to kick the gate wide open so that more and more Latinos and Latinas could stream into the STEM fields, recognizing how important it is to have the science, technology, engineering, and math focused on the Latino community. And with that experience, Amayrani has founded the Latinas in STEM, or LSTEM, organization at San Francisco State University, and co-founded Stenter in Every School with the CCC at UCSF. What an amazing Latina, leading the way, disrupting the norm, kicking the gate wide open, and being a beacon of light for the comunidad. Let's hear all of this in her own words and bring her on. Welcome to the show, Amayrani.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today and talk to you.
So we met, we haven't met in person, but we're going to soon.
Mm-hmm.
We met virtually over Instagram, and you were so great to start a conversation. It's the first time that I really felt like personal conversation on Instagram. Why don't you introduce the listeners to yourself, your story, and your heritage?
Yeah, it was great to connect on Instagram. I feel like we instantly just had a connection and talked through our heritage and our backgrounds. And through that, I just got even more excited to be here today. So, my name is Amayrani, and I come from two Mexican immigrant parents. I'm a first-generation student, and I'm striving to get a degree in STEM, but also give back to my community. Growing up, I felt like being Mexican-American, being born here, but also having lived in Mexico for a few years, I didn't belong here or there. So now that I'm, as an adult, I'm able to partake in both of my cultures and just be my true self. And I think that's what's most important.
You discovered that young then, being your true self, because that could be a lifelong journey. especially as a first gen. It is that difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You're in between two worlds.
Definitely.
What helped you along the way?
I think having community, was the key factor of helping me feel like I still belonged, and that being a Mexicana is family so important to us. So I felt a strong community within my family. We would always do gatherings. I always felt like really proud of where I come from, and that sense of you have someone there for you. Really was felt throughout my whole childhood until now as an adult, being able to do gatherings and celebrate that the way that Latinos are known to celebrate with big family gatherings and good food and good music, I think is what really has been holding me strong.
So you had a deep dive into your culture your whole life. Plus, you were in Mexico then as a child. So you carry that closer to you.
Exactly. My journey is slightly different than I would say a few people, but I think many can relate to me in being born in the U.S. and then your parents sending you to your grandparents' house, or in my case, living in Mexico for about 5.5 years and then coming back, not knowing a word of English. And like many children, their parents bring them here to succeed. So at an early age, I found that having a strong family community and group of friends was really helpful.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You speak of this family. Your family sounds so powerfully loving and compassionate. They gave you a name that I am not familiar with. It's very beautiful. Is there a story behind your name?
Thank you. It's funny. I get asked this a lot of the times, and I don't know the exact background, but I do have a particular story of how I came to understand what my name meant. My dad and I were at a laundromat in the town that I grew up in, and my dad kept calling my name. And there was a few Indians there, and it was a very diverse community. So when they heard my dad saying my name, they turned and they're like, "What's your daughter's name?" And he said it, and they're like, "Oh, do you know that Ronnie means queen?" And we were like, "No, we don't know that." Yeah, it was a queen back in India. And ever since, I've kind of stuck to that idea that my name means queen, or it comes from a queen name. But, I don't have any Asian or Indian background in me, but it's great to know that, my name's is related to a queen. Yeah, it's really funny.
Oh, that's great. I would stand behind that. Yeah, carry that
Exactly.
forward. Beautiful. Great. You're in grad school right now. So that's a big leap. Almost every Latina I've had on this show has graduate degree, if not multiple graduate degrees. Tell us about your story in heading not only to grad school, but STEM in general. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, my journey starts at a very young age, not knowing English and having to work a little bit extra hard to learn English and go to the ESL classes. And growing up, I knew I wanted to go to college. I just didn't know how. I didn't know how I can get there. I didn't know how I can pay for it. So I decided to go to community college. And while in community college, I changed my major like 3 different times. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I like law, but I also like science. And I just didn't see myself as a lawyer, and I wanted to do more for the community directly through medicine or through science. So that's when I decided to study biology. And, my journey was a little bit hard in community college because I had to work extra hours. I had to make sure that I was able to pay for school, and it wasn't an easier journey than others that are fortunate enough and had the blessing for their parents to provide. I knew I wanted to do STEM, but I had imposter syndrome. I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't know how to do this, honestly. And it took one person to tell me, "Yeah, I think you'd be great for this research program." And I dismissed her. She was a Latina scientist at College of San Mateo here in the peninsula. And I said, "Yeah, thank you." But in the back of my head, I'm like, "You didn't pass me in your class. You don't know me. You were just saying this." And then I go to my math class, and my math professor, I remember his name was Steven. He would go by his first name. And he told me you're a Latina. He heard me speak Spanish. He's like, why didn't you tell me you're Latina? And I said, I didn't know that I had to announce that. I didn't know that was,
Sure.
And he just told me,
I didn't know that was a
exactly.
thing.
I was like, I didn't know, that was, I had to let people know that. But he heard me speak Spanish and he immediately was like, you need to apply to this program. And it happened to be the same program that the other professor told me. And through that, I started doing research. I didn't meet the GPA requirements. I didn't meet the courses taken, but that's really where my journey in STEM, I feel, started. When it took these two individuals to believe in me and tell me, you have what it takes to be in this program and go to grad school. In my mind, I didn't even know I can go to grad school. I didn't even know once I transferred to a 4-year university, how I was going to pay for school. I just knew I wanted to do it. I was determined. And I think that's a lot of Latinos, we're determined individuals. We'll find a way. And that was my mindset. And through that, I started doing research in 2017 and it ended up happening that I continued into my master's and been doing research ever since. And thankfully, I've been blessed to have funding ever since and not worry about that financial hardship that comes with having to work and provide and go to school at the same time.
Wow. You touched on a lot of powerful points. Congratulations, first of all. Let's sit in that a minute. Wow. Congratulations for keeping going because it's so easy to give up. Life's hard and not having people believe in you or show you a path can be such a struggle. So let's sit in that for a minute. And the research, what is your master's in?
So my master's research is studying cell communication. I'm really interested in this because in order for cells to communicate, that it's very crucial because that is important for different processes within our bodies. And if cells are not communicating well, then you have developmental issues in babies. You have issues with diseases like cancer or any other form of disease that you can think of. So I dive into trying to understand how these cells are communicating. How are they sending signals from one cell to another and potentially find targets that are of great interest, that are crucial for all of these diseases that we know of. And how can we control the mechanism that these cells are communicating? My research is primarily in one particular form of communication, and it's through a cellular molecule called Wnt. So these are proteins in very simple forms, proteins that are sent from one cell to another and induce a cascade of signaling events that allow for signaling to occur within the cells. That any misregulation of that is what's related to all these diseases that we know of today. Yeah, that's kind of what I study.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Okay, I am such a dork. I love all this. I'm just soaking this up. I think my cells communicate very chattily. They may forget to do what they're supposed to do because they get caught up in the chat. Oh God, that's amazing. And so you went to San Francisco State to finish your 4-year degree and then start your master's.
For my master's, that's San Francisco State. When I went to community college, I went to 3 different community colleges. I went to College of San Mateo, Skyline, and Cañada College. When I was doing that program during my community college, they really motivated me to continue doing it. They believed in me in that it was a 1-year program, but if you had good grades and they saw potential, they asked you to come back. And the mentor and director of the program, he said, improve your grades, work less, focus on school, and maybe we can offer you a position next year. And it was that guidance that I think I needed that I didn't have at home. My parents didn't go to college, so I needed that push. I needed somewhat of like a big brother of that push that a lot of people of us don't have that resource and that support. And I continued doing that. And while again, my curiosity drove me to learn more about science and read more about it, I changed labs into a cancer lab and I started to develop tools that I never thought I would develop. And it took basically a village of people believing in me to finally get to a point where I believed in myself. And it was my last year in undergrad. I once already had transferred to San Francisco State. And I realized, wow, like this is what I want to do. I know this is what I want to do. And I applied to scholarships, and one particular office actually provides the best support, in my opinion, at San Francisco State. And I'm forever thankful for them. And they're called the Student Enrichment Opportunities Office, so SEO, because through them, I was able to transfer to San Francisco State, get funding, and get my tuition paid, which to me is bizarre. I never thought that was possible.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. I didn't have to worry about it.
Nobody knows this.
No, a lot of people don't realize that there's these resources, that a community of people that just want to help students. And particularly for first gens and those from unrepresented communities like us Latinas. And when I got that scholarship, it was called a Genetic Foundation Scholarship when I transferred to San Francisco State. Like I said, I got my tuition paid. I got a monthly stipend. That meant that I was no longer, working 2 to 5 jobs to make ends meet. I was going to school and my grades just skyrocketed. And that's really when I started to be like, I can do this. Like, this is possible. It's doable. It's feasible. Like, you got this. I kind of started to self-motivate because I had all these people that had believed in me. And now now it's just me. And that's what really drove my interest, in science and in STEM in general, because I think in order for us to really, succeed in something, there has to be that interest and that motivation. Otherwise, it's hard to make new discoveries and stay motivated and enjoy what you're doing. So I definitely would say that the support from all the faculty at San Francisco State and the Student Enrichment Opportunities Office at San Francisco State, or who I'm forever thankful for, and who have allowed me to now almost finish my master's as well.
Oh my gosh. You are queen. You are queen. Oh my gosh. This is such a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Oh my Lord. You touched on something that I think is really valuable to reiterate just right now in the moment, with realizing, having someone say, it's the amount of time you're working that's making it difficult for you to study STEM. It's not you.
Exactly.
It's not you. You have the capacity, but you must have been so accustomed to working multiple jobs and keeping things moving and not realizing how stretched thin you were, because you'd probably been doing it all your life.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Since an early age. And, I started working when I was 15. And since then, just been going at it.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a great point, but I think a lot of students from Latin backgrounds actually have to go through. They have to work to help support the family while still going to college. And most of the time, the family does not understand that hardship that working actually causes, the lack of time, the stress. I think once that was taken away from me and I was able to focus more on research and my science, my grades skyrocketed. And something I always tell others is your grades don't define you. They really don't. You're smarter than you think. It's the resources around you that really support you for you to be successful. So the moment you have that support and you also have to reach out and find that community is when you're going to succeed, because you can't do it alone. You can't work 3 to 5 jobs and expect to have a 4.0 in school. You have to set boundaries. And I think that's really difficult to do growing up. Especially I feel like for me, kind of from a Latin background, it's hard to set boundaries because we're taught to say Mande, like, tell me what I can do for you. How can I serve you? Rather than, hey, I'm busy right now. I'll get back to you in an hour. That's definitely a lesson that I learned the hard way. But I think if you understand that, you'll succeed.
All this experience that you've done now, you are this treasure trove
Thank you.
of information for other first gen Latinos to go through this process. Where did that take you? Let's talk about what you studied.
Yeah. Like you said, having my experience has really led me to want to help others. through this, I was able to find and start Latinas in STEM, an organization at San Francisco State full of Latinas that are trying to achieve an undergraduate or a graduate degree in STEM. And my main mission was to give this advice, to provide the resources, but with the overall goal of increasing representation. Being a Latina in STEM, I didn't see a lot of people like me. And that worried me. I'm huge on diversity. Wow. And I care of where I come from because other people, like you said, are not really going to understand why my grades were the way they were, or they won't understand my cultural background and why I'm the way that I am and my values of why I have to work or why I have to do this. So I wanted a community full of women that felt comfortable. And I thought if I started this organization at San Francisco State, even if it's 10 people, I don't mind. I'm going to help some group of individuals. And because I also remember being a high school student, not knowing what I was doing, I thought I need to go to high school students. I need to start my mission of increasing representation at the high school level, because when I was in high school, my dad didn't know how the application for college was. You know, he didn't know how to do FAFSA because at the time, both the parents and the students had to do it. And it was a complicated mess.
I did not know either.
It was just something. It's something
no
else.
Idea. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah. You know, I didn't either until senior year. And all of these stuff that, you know, most parents don't know of. They want their students to go to college. They come here to America for a better future for their children, but they just don't know how to. They know that it's here, but they just don't know how to. So starting Latinas in STEM, I reached out to high schools all over the Bay Area. And one particular high school really caught my interest, which was Mission High School. And my goal was to start a mentorship program there. Latinas in STEM members would go there. We would teach them about STEM, create vision boards, motivate them, provide them resources that they need, provide them networking opportunities, help them apply to internships, to scholarships. And my goal is to raise money. I'm trying to reach out to the community and if they're willing to donate so that I can give scholarships to these high school graduates that do get into college and do end up doing a degree in STEM, because transitioning to college is not easy. You might move 6 hours away or you might stay to your local community college, but textbook nowadays are $100 to $200. That's my goal,
right?
You know, help provide the resources to the students at San Francisco State, but also locally so that we start at a very young age. Yeah. We motivate them. We provide mentorship throughout the years, and they know that they have that big sister. And that's the overall goal.
Wow.
That's how my interests ended up leading to making Latinas in STEM a thing.
Wow, Latinas in STEM at San Francisco State. Congratulations. Wow. You are just like expanding. This is like, I'm on the verge of either getting chills or crying.
Oh.
It's like you have such command and such presence, and this empathy just pours from you. It's like, yes, we must make this happen. Funding is huge. Like you said, college is expensive. Supplies, resources are expensive. Housing is expensive. Everything, especially in the Bay Area.
Definitely.
Right? So this could be a deal breaker of people saying, well, I can do it, but I can't afford to pay for it. Is there a way for listeners right now to be supporting you with funding and donating to the organization?
Yeah, so if people are interested in supporting us, they can first message us on Instagram, or if they want to email us, they can. Our Instagram handle is LSTEM, SFSU, short for Latinas in STEM at SFSU. And if you want to email us, long name, but Latinas in STEM, SFSU @gmail.com. And you can send us a direct email or DM on Instagram and let us know that you want to support us, and then we can move forward with it. We would, really appreciate it if listeners decide to support this new organization and this mentorship program. And if it doesn't necessarily have to be funding, we really appreciate that. But if you yourself have any ideas of how the program can exceed and grow, that's also welcome. I don't want to push one direct thing. Any form of support is really appreciated.
Yeah, that's true because, like I said, a lot of our Latina guests have all gone through a process. How they went through is completely different for individuals. They might be a great resource of knowing other funding for students or other scholarships or internships, or they might be out in the community in the careers right now and be offering internships.
Exactly. And we really want to offer networking opportunities to the high school students. So our plan is to cover each part of STEM. So science, technology, engineering, and math, and have individuals from the field. So if there's any Latinas that are in STEM that want to join via Zoom or in person with the Mission High School students this spring, more than welcome to email us again or send us a message on Instagram and say that you volunteer. Honestly, that would be really, really appreciated as we need more Latinas. We want to make sure that the members see themselves in us and they're able to see a Latina in the position that they're hoping to be in a few years. So if, again, the listeners are curious to participate or would want to, please let us know.
Oh, yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. Representation, having the visual, because you don't want to trust you're going down this very difficult path of 5 years, possibly, only to get into the industry and not know what it's like, not know what the environment's like or, what the office space might look like. That's brilliant.
Exactly.
Love this.
Yeah.
You are such a go-getter. You're amazing. I love this. I love this. You have a lot right here with you right now, growing, and we'll be going forward with PhD program and the expansion of this organization. What do you see for yourself personally beyond that? Where are you headed?
That's a great question. For me, I definitely want to have a leadership role in STEM. I see myself at a biotech company and being a senior scientist or speaking about the product development or the treatment that we're working on. I care a lot about having a leadership role, but working with the community as well. I feel I strive well in a group of individuals that have the same mission. So after my PhD, and if I do not end up getting a PhD as well, I still see myself in a leadership role. I think that by doing that, I have flexibility as well to provide to the community. I don't want to just have a 9-to-5. I want to be able to mentor or still help Latinas in STEM if it continues at San Francisco State. I want to be able to do other things that are important to me. And in 5-10 years, that's where I see myself. I see myself doing science, and I can see the 5-year-old me being like, "You did it!" So that's where I see myself going.
You yourself are showing that you have such personality and love of people and love of family on one side, or on all of you, I should say. And then you have this just intrigue and dedication and love of science. And for most people, that those two don't go hand in hand, right? So I think you have a very strong position out in the community, being so personable and saying, yes, let's do science, let's do higher education, let's change and also change perhaps the research back towards the community. Definitely. I would think, right?
Definitely, yes.
Because how much research is being done for the Latino community right now?
Yeah, not a lot. I think I am seeing the change. I will be honest. I'm seeing it. I'm part of a lab. Okay. I've been part of a lab. I piggyback a little bit that you mentioned a great point before I add to this is that Latina representation, especially, is not very common in the biotech industry. But if we also consider Afro-Latinas, that is way less. And that upsets me. Yeah. That really upsets me because it's like two aspects they're being hit by. You don't see a lot of African Americans and then you don't see a lot of Latinas. Put that all together and it's way less. And I think that needs to change. And I think it's starting within research because I'm starting to see how people are how cancer differs among Latinos and Asians and African Americans, and even deeper. Latin community is huge. There's huge diversity within the Latin community. And I am noticing the research where we're not just looking at, are you Hispanic or Latino? No. Are you Mexican? Are you Caribbean? Are you Afro-Latina? Are you from Brazil? Because it's not considered, So I see the change happening. It's just the beginning. And I think it's not shown out to the community yet, but I see it happening from a research perspective.
And I think that's why your position is so important, because the community and the students don't know. And if you don't know, you just assume it's not happening at all because, again, there's just not been a focus. There's not been appreciation. So hopefully even this episode will have people encouraged like, oh, okay, it's coming. It's coming. I can join in this and end up in a much larger ocean than I know. As I go along this little trickle.
Really hope that listeners are able to feel supported and encouraged that science is trying to go that direction. It just takes a while. Yeah. I'm hearing about a lot more clinical studies where a lot of Latinos are partaking, even just Latinos, but Samoan and Tongan communities partaking as well. And I love to hear that because you don't consider a lot of other ethnicities. And as a scientist, and it's not because we do it on purpose, but it's because the data available is mainly just white individuals. You're comparing white individuals to another group. And unfortunately, it's because it's not there. But I am seeing the research being done and considering all of the different individuals within our communities. And I think that's great. We're progressing very slowly, but we're progressing.
Is there something you love doing that's completely opposite from STEM and people?
I did do choir. A lot of people don't know that. It was really important for me to while doing STEM and helping the community, for my spiritual and my mental health to be balanced. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that. They don't realize that, she's this Latina scientist who's 6'1" and she's Latina and she's working on Latinas in STEM. But in my free time, I like being with myself. I like being with a great group of friends that I can do what I enjoy. And that is things that are good for my spiritual and mental and also emotional health, honestly. I think if those are not in check and if they're not good, then I'm definitely not doing well when it comes to science or helping the community, because I myself have to prioritize myself.
That's beautiful. And you can't forget to take care of yourself and to take time for yourself. Yeah. And I also think that's very complicated coming out of the culture.
Oh, yeah.
Our culture is very, it's intense. It's very
culture
demanding,
is definitely
and
grind.
You don't realize how much you're doing. But it's also can get you very exhausted emotionally, mentally, afraid. And you think you still have to keep going. You think you're still not doing enough. That's dangerous.
I think
it's hard. That's a good reminder.
It's a reminder that I want all listeners to know that you can succeed as a Latina in STEM. But remind yourself to take care of yourself, because you will burn out. I have burnt out and it was not great. And I highly recommend to take care of your spiritual, emotional, and mental health, whatever way suits you. There's not one way. There's not one formula. And I think when you're able to find that, what works for you, then I think you're going to be in a better place. I think in order for us to be successful in our careers and help the community, we need to use the tools that were installed in us because of our culture. You touched that great point. We have this drive, we have this motivation, we know how to work 10 times more because it's installed in us and at such an early age. Keep going, do this, do that. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves to slow down and just take care of ourselves. Yeah.
We have to give out our shout out. This is where we do our
Great.
shout out for our another part of the culture, very important, our cafecitos.
Yes.
So we love giving shout outs to everyone's favorite local, not local. Some people have said their favorite places are in Puerto Rico or Spain or wherever they travel. It's really beautiful. So do you have a favorite cafecito place?
I do. My favorite cafecito place is in Mountain View, California. It's called Clock Tower Cafe, right off Middlefield, right next to Microsoft and Apple. So all of those big tech companies. I highly recommend it. They have great pastries, great coffee. I go in, the cashier already knows what I want. It's cozy. You're able to work there. Yeah, I highly recommend it. I honestly feel like I'm having cafecito with my abuela. So I would recommend it to everybody to go there.
Oh, I love that. Yes, I love that hominess.
Mhm.
Yes, always bringing it back to love of family, love of culture. Oh, awesome.
Definitely.
Further shout out, little love and recognition.
Yeah, so I want to give a big shout out to my parents, my dad, Roberto, and my mom, Janet, who have been really supportive through this journey of me going into science. And when things got rough, when I didn't pass exams, they were there. They were there when I would stay up at 3 a.m, when I was crying because I didn't pass a class. And they were supportive through this journey. And now that I'm going into a PhD, I recall when I graduated from my undergrad, my dad cried. And I never see my dad cry. He was crying and thanking my tia Madi and my tío Javier because my dad raised me until my mom came around. And I'm forever thankful for that. And as well to Latinas STEM, all the leaders and all the members, it wouldn't exist without them. And I think that if they get to hear this, that they need to know that they're going places. And I'm just really happy that I got this organization started with them. And we're partaking into the community and including our goals and our mission and motivating others. So I'm forever thankful for them. And I'm thankful for you as well, because I get this opportunity to talk about who I am and my goals and hopefully motivate the listeners that they can do what they want to do. And they're not alone. There's resources out there. So thank you.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. And yes, thank you to all of the people you mentioned, your family, your parents, the community, for bringing you forward. As you have such great impact. We love this.
Thank you.
And a reminder, it's not a linear life.
Exactly.
It takes time. Don't put yourself on a time clock. Don't put yourself in comparison to others. Just keep going.
Exactly.
Right? Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Faith and hope.
Exactly. Faith and hope. And that perseverance and that determination within you will get you very far, even through the hardships that happen. You know, I was in community college for 4 years. I thought I was going to be 2. I didn't get my bachelor's until 6 years. And now I'm finishing my master's and I just came back from a PhD interview. I want to encourage everybody to talk to their inner child because you've done so much.
I speak to that little girl. That's why I open every episode. I say, hola chicas, because I am speaking to that little girl. Okay, chica, let's go. Let's do this. You can do this.
Definitely. And I think, what you're doing too is amazing because you're allowing everybody to remember to speak to that little girl, and through your episodes of your podcast, like people can feel represented. They can feel like, oh, I identify with this individual. Okay, I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm doing well. So what you're doing is great. And I really hope that it continues growing and you're able to touch so many more people.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you. It's so important. We need to share our true story. We have to speak our story, create our own narrative in our own time. Don't let someone else tell our story. Right? We appreciate your time and sharing it with us. And we wish you all the best for everything and your endeavors. And again, we will have your information and everything of resources and links that you want to provide for listeners to get involved. Everything you heard here today will be in our show notes and will also be in an article that we'll have on our website so people can access it and remember how to get a hold of you, how to participate. We really want to see what you're accomplishing. So thank you so very much for sharing your time with us here today.
Thank you so much, Consuelo. What you're doing as well is great. I love how you're gathering a community of great individuals, successful individuals, and allowing the community to hear them. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been great. Thank you.
Okay. Wow. Didn't Amayrani have you feeling renewed and excited for Latinas in STEM rising quicker than we may have even imagined? I had no idea that research was actually being focused on really specific heritage. It makes such a huge difference, both even biological for sure, but also the culture and the way we communicate and the way we want to be treated. It's so different. This is so reassuring. And when you have people like Amayrani who are creating these networks and organizations that support and encourage Latinas to follow their curiosity and passion, I see this as a floodgate opening. You stay true to your dream, your passion, your curiosity, and people like Amayrani out there in the world will help you get there. Remember to follow up with Amayrani through the information she provided during the episode, and we'll have all that in an article that we link through our show notes. So be sure to check it out on the show notes. Follow the link to the article on our website at thelinks.com. That's LNXX. Thank you so much for subscribing to this podcast to be part of this comunidad of amazing Latinas. Encourage your friends to join in and be empowered to share their stories. The more we share, the more the narrative grows louder, and the more this becomes our norm. We have to break our silence and speak up so that we feel confident to follow our dreams. Next week is a Pod Club episode of today's chat with Amayrani, so I can't wait to hear what you come up with. What are your ideas? What struck you about what she was telling us today? Whether it's the actual cell and molecular biology, or it's her experience through her schooling, or the mentors that were just one or two people that got you on your path. Or was it, and this is what really struck me, was it the realization that your grades speak less to your intelligence or abilities? Those should not be a barrier. And instead, they speak more to how hard you are working, literally, or giving your time to your family and the people who need you. That's something we never think about because it's just our norm. So let's break that open next week in our Pod Club episode. Step into your truth, ladies. Ciao. Really appreciate the time you take to rate and review the podcast. Get the backstory and what you've heard here today and reach out to us at thelinks.com. That's LNXX. Because it's about time, it's about us. Stay in the groove on our social media at Lifelinks and get ready to make your move, ladies. Viva!